Hey everyone, it's Hot Potato here. Sorry I haven't made a video in a while. Anyway, today I want to talk to you guys about gender, a word I almost don't want to use anymore because of these postmodern feminists who are basically saying that, well, it's a social construct and everything's a social construct and anything can really mean anything anymore except what you want it to mean because you are a fucking Nazi. Uh, but in the real world, where we actually make sense, gender is associated with your biological sex. I don't really want to call it sex though, because then you're just gonna be thinking about sex. Please stop. So, when we're talking about biological sex, that also indicates a lot of other characteristics that go along with it that explain why men and women are the way they are. Now, with men, they have XY chromosomes and higher levels of testosterone, and women have X chromosomes and higher levels of estrogen. And these even affect how you look. That's why transgender people take hormones, so that they look more like the gender they're trying to present as. So you can actually assume somebody's gender. So you can look at me and you can tell that I am a woman. I sound like a woman. I have soft skin. I don't have an Adam's apple. I don't have facial hair. I have a very feminine penis. I'm just kidding about the last part. Where am I? So biology plays a very important role in all of these things and really explains a good portion of why things are the way they are. And we can certainly look at societal expectations and pressures, whatever, but I would like to put that aside for a second. And I would like to look at our cousins, the monkeys, who are very similar to us. And when you give them a toy car and a toy doll, the males will go for the car and the females will go for the doll. And I find that really rather fascinating because they don't have the same kind of society setup that we do, with the same kind of pressures. And they're acting a lot more out on their natural instincts. And these toys, what they represent to us, like, monkeys aren't able to get that representation, that symbolism, to the same degree that we are, but yet they will still go for those things because they appeal to those natural characteristics that have to do with their gender. So females are more nurturing and caring and supportive, and men are more aggressive and risk-taking and things like that. And this actually explains why men are at the top and the bottom and why women are in the center when it comes to basically everything. So feminists, they like to look at how men are at the top of every jobs and say that the patriarchy is oppressing us and that there's this glass ceiling that prevents women from achieving success above a certain point, although they can't really say where that ceiling is. And the whole patriarchy argument doesn't really make sense when we live in a democratic society that elects its leaders and most of the voters are female, unless you want to say that women are oppressing themselves, which you could make an argument for, but you would be stupid. That would not surprise me. I already know that you're stupid. Anyway, moving on. Toxic masculinity. So a lot of these traits are seen as toxic. I don't see them as toxic at all. If men need to express their emotions more, that's not because of their toxic masculinity. That's due to other issues, actually. And certainly shaming them will not help them open up more to you. That does not work ever. That's pretty stupid. But those toxicity has to do with other issues, unhappiness and insecurity, and that causes them to lash out at women and other people. And the same for women. Feminists are pretty much the most toxic people I know right now. They're always lashing out at men and even other women all the time for things that they dislike. And they're usually unattractive, they're fat, and they want people in society to find that attractive instead of just losing weight. That's just one example, but this is what they're like. They are toxic. And when they try to replicate men and be like men, because they want everything to be equal, for example, when they take leadership positions, they end up being nagging bitches instead of just being assertive, because they just don't seem to see the difference between what they're doing and what men are doing. And women, and even feminist women, have said that they would actually prefer to work for a man than to work for a woman because of that kind of behavior. I think women generally prefer to be equal with each other and be more supportive, cooperative environments. Women generally feel more comfortable working with children and the elderly and nurturing supportive roles. And that is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know? Those roles are much better than being garbage men or being homeless or being at the bottom of society. And maybe they're not as good as being presidents and getting Nobel Peace Prizes or whatever. But but those men will provide for those women. You know, those men are happy to share that with women who are attractive and nice and will give them companionship and give them children and all of that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this kind of nuclear family, with this idea that you should find a partner and be happy and raise a family. I think that's the most healthy and natural thing that you can do. And I think attacking society and saying that that's the only way you can do things is out of your inability to achieve that. I actually have this quote here from Westworld that I will read out to you guys. It's a great show, by the way. I read a theory once that the human intellect was like peacock feathers, just an extravagant display intended to attract a mate. All of art, literature, a bit of Mozart, William Shakespeare, Michelangelo, and the Empire State Building. Just an elaborate mating ritual. Maybe it doesn't matter that we have accomplished so much for the basest of reasons, but of course the peacock can barely fly and lives in the dirt, pecking insects out of the muck, consoling itself with its great beauty. Now I think that is just an amazing quote. And I think there are a lot of amazing men out there. When I think of Elon Musk, I don't think male, white. I don't think about identity politics. I think this is an amazing person. I think I want to be that person. Or even better yet, I want to be with that person so that they can provide for me and provide for my children. And so I don't have to deal with the same levels of stress that he has to do. Men are much more able to deal with that than women are. And it makes sense as well because we have periods every month and we're just emotional wreck. You don't want to deal with us when we're on a period. Definitely not in a high stress job. We just start with the way we are, and I think even like sexually as well. When men penetrate us, that is just the more dominant position. We have to give ourselves to men. And like I've seen the BDSM community. And women are far more submissive than they are dominant. To far greater degrees than men are. There are a lot more submissive men than there are dominant women. And most of those dominant women do not want to sleep with any of those submissive men. Even the ones that they do decide to get involved with. It's more of a power exchange than anything sexual. Whereas most of those submissive women want to give themselves sexually to those men. I don't think that is a coincidence. I think that's another natural thing that makes sense. I do. Like why are men the ones being disposable in our society and not killing themselves, but getting killed in war for us to protect us? It's because we need more women than we need men. Because it takes 9 months to make a baby, and during that time we're pretty vulnerable, and then after that we have to breastfeed and nurture those babies. Men, they can keep having sex all the time and producing more babies, right? So we need less of those men. And of those men we want the better ones to remain. And I don't always think it is the better men that remain. I think a lot of the good men went to go die to fight for us. And I think we're left with a lot of losers. a lot of MGTOW. A lot of incels, involuntarily celibate people, who will blame women for their lack of success, you know. I mean, a lot of them will just deny that they want women, but really they're hurt because women rejected them. And those are the toxic people. Those are the ones with the toxic masculinity. Those and the feminists as well. I think everyone would be happier if they just go for what is natural. If a woman wants to go in STEM, that's fine, more power to her. But if she decides to go to STEM because she wants to represent women in a group where there aren't a lot of women, because she feels pressured into it, she won't find happiness that way. And if you're not going to find happiness, you're gonna end up toxic. So that's, I think that's really sad. But if that is what you want to pursue, go for it. Especially if you're unattractive, you should make up for that in other ways, be it your success or whatever. Because there is more than one way to get a mate and to achieve that happiness that you want to. And you can achieve happiness without finding a mate and without having children, but it's certainly a lot harder, because that is just a natural part of our makeup and why we are the way we are. Anyway, I think all of this is pretty much common sense, but you can take from it what you want. I actually have a fun fact for you guys about Ireland, and it's not actually a fun fact at all, because no fun facts are ever really fun facts. But if you do actually have a fun fact that is a fun fact, please leave it in the comments. But back to Ireland, we've actually had 2 female presidents before, but neither of those presidents, they didn't really have any real power. They're just more representatives, because all the real power is in the Taoiseach, which is more like a prime minister, and they have always been male, right? Because women just aren't drawn to that role. They're just not. There's nothing wrong with not being men. That doesn't make women any lesser. It certainly doesn't make me hate women to say that. I like women because they're women. I like myself, and I am a bisexual woman. So there you go. Anyway, that's it for this video.